Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ellie if you're new here, and I apologize about the kind of cash setup here with my phone camera. My camera battery died when I sat down to film this, and I'm in my last semester of nursing school, as some of you may know, and so any opportunity I have to sit down and film is kind of few and far between. So I just wanted to take the opportunity now to sit and just work with what I had. And what I have right now is my phone camera. But I'm here with my little London fog. This mug is from IKEA, by the way. Normally I'm kind of a thrifted, art-filled ceramic mug kind of person, but I really have been enjoying these sort of textured glass minimalistic ones. But anyway, I just wanted to sit down and chat a little bit about completed projects that I am working on, and then also talk a little bit about a 2-week fiber trip that I took earlier in the summer. So I'll go ahead and start with my completed project. This is my completed Esther cardigan by Petite. This was my first cardigan that I've ever made. I guess I should say that I ever completed. I just love all of Petite Knit's projects. They're always such a joy to knit, and this one was no exception. My only itty bitty little, it's not really a complaint because I think it was something that I did when I was working on it, but the neckband came out quite wide. I don't think it's supposed to be this wide. So I maybe would have done a couple more rows, even though it would have made it a different thickness than the button band. But not a huge deal, but just noted for next time. I don't know if maybe I could have sized down. I think I made a size small in this because there's an extra small and extra small, and I chose the small. I was surprised about how oversized it ended up being, but regardless, I'm totally happy with how it turned out. I'll insert some pictures here of me wearing it. When I posted these on my Instagram, I was very thrilled because Petite Knit ended up following me, which was super exciting. I knit this up with Jagger spun heathered worsted weight off the cone, one of those like big weaving cones. I used 2 of them. And it was a very interesting project because as I was working on it, Jagger Spun announced that they were going to be closing in January of 2025, which is pretty heartbreaking. I've been knitting with them ever since I started knitting 2 years ago, and I just think their yarns are the best and the most inspirational to work with, and I just love their color palettes, and I'm honestly really devastated that they're closing. There's definitely a couple brands that I think are comparable, but just for the price and the quality that you get, it's going to be a tough loss, especially for those in the weaving community because they are very big in that world. Anyway, but really wonderful project to knit up, and it feels particularly special now that it's a yarn that's going to be discontinued. Also really quickly wanted to mention that these beautiful brass buttons are from Heavenly Yarns in Belfast, Maine, which is one of the places that I went on my trip. Really, really lovely people there, and love that I have this memory. So many memories associated with this cardigan. Next up, I'll go ahead and chat a bit about projects that I am either working on or going to cast on soon. So this first one, I cast this on my drive back home from New Hampshire, but this is gonna be I am totally blanking on the designer's name and the pattern, but I'm gonna put it right here. It's just a little fisherman rib beanie. I just saw this red and could not resist. The yarn's by Peace Fleece. Just such a wonderful color. It has little elements of hot pink and orange and yellow. It's just really beautiful and very complex. The next project that I have been talking about this project for quite some time, but it's the Nomad jacket by Wool and Beyond. I'll go grab it so I can show you. I've been working on this jacket since last summer, I think. I think over a year at this point, maybe exactly a year. As you can see, I got the front panel done. This will be joined here, and then we're working on the left panel, and then I got the sleeves, and then there'll be I-cord edging, and then some pockets as well. And then for this project, also from Heavenly Yarns in Belfast, I picked up these beautiful, beautiful wooden toggles that I think are just going to be really, really lovely and nice and subtle with this. It looks very silly at the moment. But yeah, this is in honeycomb brioche stitch. If you watched my first ever knitting vlog, I'm working on this project in that video. That's how long I've been working on it. But I ran out of yarn. This is the Bartlett Sport Weight, I think, in medium sheep gray. I ran out of yarn and I kept meaning to order it, and then things just got really busy. And then once I planned this trip to go up north, I was like, well, I'm gonna be up there, so why not just purchase it while we're up there? So I got a couple more skeins, and because it's undyed, I didn't really have to worry about the dye lot or anything. But hoping to do some good progress on this soon. And then another project that I'm hoping to cast on soon is the Sophie Shaw by Petite, which I feel like everybody is working on right now. I got this is a sport weight yarn, but the Sophie Shaw I think is in worsted. I'm gonna try to make it work. I'm just gonna mess around with the gauge a little bit because I feel like this could have blooming potential, but this is from Swan's Island. I wish that I could capture how absolutely stunning this green is. It's very complex. It has just a bunch of different shades. And it's incredibly soft. I feel like it's gonna be a very nice little shawl moment here. So very excited. I might actually end up casting this on today, if I'm being honest. Hey. Okay, so just as a little bit of a debrief from my travels up north. So I went to Green Mountain Spinnery in Vermont. That was my first stop. It was absolutely incredible. We got to do a little private mill tour. I wish I had taken more videos, but I was honestly just so entranced by the whole experience. Go ahead. Sorry, my cat's trying to open that door. So we did the little tour, and then we got to look at their shop. And while we were there, the woman who runs the Woolly Thistle, came and picked up an order, which was kind of crazy and cool to see her. And then after that, we went to Junction Fiber Mill, which, if you haven't heard of their podcast, they have a really awesome podcast here on YouTube. Very interesting story. So that was really fun to go check them out. I didn't get anything there at either location. Because our trip was so long, I was feeling very shy about spending any money in the beginning because there were so many places that we had planned to go that I was trying to be super responsible. But the first place that I did buy yarn was actually a little, what was it called? Spinning Ladies? 3 Crazy Ladies? 3 spinning something ladies. I don't know. It was in Vermont, but I figured the reason why I ended up buying this yarn was because it was made by a local farm, and I wasn't going to be able to order this online. I ended up kind of breaking that rule. I was thinking that I was going to try to buy only locally made yarns, but I couldn't help myself later on. But this was a local yarn from Mount Escutney View Farm. But it's just this really lovely kind of soft red that has almost a white halo on it. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with this. I'm considering doing another Esther cardigan, honestly. I think that could be really lovely in this color, but we will see. And honestly, it was like $9 a skein here, and there's 210 yards per skein, so I was pretty excited about that. Yeah, $9.30, and totally locally made and dyed in Vermont, so very cool. And then after that, we traveled up to Belfast, Maine. I've been going to Belfast, Maine every year since 2020 for the most part. I think last year was the only exception. I just freaking love it there. We stayed on the main street above a little wine store, but it was just absolutely lovely. They have a store there called the Green Store, which is just excellent and really fun to go to. But most importantly, they have Heavenly Yarns, which is just such a lovely yarn store. They have such good selection, and the women who work there are just so unbelievably kind and generous, lovely people. So while I was there, I picked up some Bartlett yarn to finish that cardigan, my nomad jacket. And then I also stocked up on some Let Lopey. This is the shade, or I guess the color 0058. This really stunning gray color. So I picked up a couple skeins of this. I also picked up this Jagger Spun, I think it's sport weight, I believe. This yarn is truly one of the most beautiful colors I've ever seen. I am, again, just so devastated that they're closing, because who else is doing it like this? But they have just these really, really beautiful blues and yellows and almost not quite purple, but I guess a little bit of purple. But just so freaking stunning. But I picked up 2 skeins of that, and out of 1 skein, I made these socks, just basic ribbed sock from a free pattern online that I've knit with before. But yeah, these have been very cozy for the fall weather. But I picked this up and had to really hold back from buying any of the other colors because we actually went to Jagger Spun later on. So we spent time at Heavenly Yarns, and then we went to Swan's Island, which is where I got this beautiful green one here. We didn't actually go physically to Swan's Island. I think this was their store. Was it in Camden, I believe? Yeah, I think that's right. So picked up a couple skeins of this. And then we also went to the Lost Kitchen, which, if you guys have seen that show, really great comfort watch show, very great for knitting. We got to see Erin there and her husband, which was kind of mind-blowing to see them in person, and also just to be there in general was kind of crazy. I got 2 purchases from there. The first one being these really stunning garden shears or clippers from a Japanese brand called Nawaki. As you can see here, got the little engraving there. They have this nice little closure here, and they're just so well made, really sharp. But I have been using these in my garden a bunch, and they have been just absolutely wonderful. And then the other thing that I got, which I honestly, obviously the yarn purchases have been amazing, but this cookbook, I can't say enough good things about it. I've already made a handful of the recipes here, and it's just gonna be such a staple this winter. If you don't follow Julius Roberts on YouTube or Instagram, would highly recommend. I think he only has one YouTube video actually, but I watch that YouTube video like once a week because it's just so beautifully shot. But I'll insert some pictures of this one particular dish that I've been making a lot, which is a spinach, tomato, and anchovy gratin. It is truly so delicious. I made it twice in 1 week. The first time I made it because I couldn't get enough of it. It is all my favorite flavors in one dish, and it was really easy to make. And I mean, just how stunning is the cookbook? So good, cannot recommend this enough. So after our travels in Maine, we went down to New Hampshire, and that's where, on the way down in New Hampshire, we went to Jaggerspun, where I picked up a different shade of that same, I think they call it, is it Jagger Rag, yeah. This, again, totally killer color combination. It's this blue and red color. No plans for this yet, but again, it's feeling very sacred now that I know that they're going out of business. But I'm very intrigued by the potential here. I don't know if I want to do a pullover or maybe some kind of winter accessories like matching mittens and a scarf kind of thing. But really excited about this. And then I also picked up, let's see, this is the Gotland Heather, and it's in this really beautiful blue color. I bought that same shade but in a yellow color because I wanted to cast on the porcelain sweater. My original plan was doing it in this yellow and oatmeal-y color. I thought it was going to be really nice, low contrast, but it turned out to be extremely low contrast, like you can barely see it, which is a huge bummer because I like low contrast, but I mean, if you're not going to be able to see any of the color work at all, then it sort of feels pointless. But I'm going to knit another swatch of this with this blue shade in the oatmeal, and I think it'll be a lot more visible, hopefully. Hi. So this is my cat, Sufi. I don't know if I've ever actually introduced her. So after our trip to Jaggerspun, which was so excellent and very precious, after that we went down to New Hampshire and we went to Harrisville Designs, and all I can say is thank God I do not live anywhere near there because I would be going there all day, every day. It was just such a beautiful store. They had such incredible inventory and they had a lot of things on sale, which was awesome. From their sale stuff, I got Brooklyn Tweed Shelter, which felt like a huge throwback because shelter is one of the first things that I ever knit with when I first started knitting. So it was very nostalgic to buy these. But they had one skein of this really beautiful mustardy color. And then they had a bunch of skeins of this really lovely rusty color that I got a sweater's quantity of. So this would be a nice knit up at some point. Again, no plans, just vibes, just going off of whatever interested me. But this was a Harrisville Designs purchase that I was super excited about. I've been looking for a nice soft brown. I feel like brown can be a little bit tricky when you have brown hair and brown eyes. I don't really like to wear deeper browns because I feel like it's just too much going on. But this felt like a really nice, just a soft kind of mossy brown. This is in the shade Toffee, and it's 200 yards. Do they have, I'm assuming, I think it's worsted. Yeah, I think this is worsted weight. Hoping to do maybe a basic pullover with this and just kind of let the color shine, or potentially another cardigan. We will see, but I was really excited about this one. And yeah, that was it for that trip. It was so, so beautiful. And Maine is always just such a special place to go. This is my first time going up to Maine in the summer, or anywhere in New England in the summer. So it was really lovely. The weather was great. All right, and then I just have a couple of miscellaneous things to share for the end of this video. The first one was actually gifted to me by a friend for my birthday, which was a couple days ago now. But I had never heard of this brand somehow, so I'm probably just really out of the loop here. But it's called Lanolips, and it's a lanolin-based lip product. This is their tinted balm in the shade Rhubarb. And it is just the most beautiful freaking color. It's a really nice and thick product, natural and lovely on the lips. Really been a big fan of that. And then the other things I wanted to share were a couple different books. This book, I saw the cover and was very intrigued. The title is Wintering: The Power of Rest and Retreat in Difficult Times by Catherine May. I think I had heard of this book before. It was published in 2020, and it's essentially just musings on, I don't want to say self-retreat because it's not quite about that. It's more, I guess, going inward and allowing it's more so about true rest and what rest actually means and looks like in our modern and crazy world. And it's just a really lovely read. I've been very inspired by the book. I've been reading this by candlelight in the evening, and that's just been very healing and relaxing. So far, really recommend this book. I'm about halfway through. And some of you might laugh at me about this, but I recently discovered the Barnes & Noble magazine section. I always associated that section with being a teenager and going there and picking out fashion magazines and stuff, but they have incredible interior design content there. So we'll start with those. So I picked up Design Anthology and Open House. I am feeling lately just a really big draw to getting off of the internet for inspiration and getting more into physical mediums. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love Pinterest, but one of the things that kind of bums me out about it is that it's all about consumption of images versus actually sitting down with them and reading about the designer and reading about the space, which is what I love so much about YouTube. Like, I love watching World of Interiors or, of course, British House and Garden, because I love being able to hear about the designers specifically. But anyway, this has just been a really nice, relaxing thing to look at the end of the day, and just such stunning images in here. And I just love a good matted magazine. And Open House, same gist. So really been loving looking through these. And then the two other ones I got were the Paris Review and the Hedgehog Review. I picked up this copy of the Hedgehog Review because there was an interview with Rick Steves, which if you are a NPR person, you know who I'm talking about. But really great article about him in here. It's not an interview, it's more of a like commentary, I guess, on the way that he creates travel plans or travel programs and the way that he views tourism. There's just a lot of really cool articles about travel in here, which has been really cool to flip through and read about. And I have not yet dug into the Paris Review, but they had some really lovely poetry and art in here when I was flipping through. So I'm really excited to delve into this. Also, how can you not love this book cover? It's just beautiful. And then finally for books, this was another thing that I purchased on my big trip that was kind of surreal to finally own. that this is the Isiger book, A Knitting Life. Talk about finding inspiration from books. Oh my gosh. I'm a little bit too intimidated to ever make anything by Marian Isiger because I've heard that her patterns are quite difficult. That being said, I will face the challenge at some point, but just the images in here are so unbelievably inspirational and lovely. And I've wanted this book forever. And so it's pretty surreal to actually have it in my hands. And it's just so inspiring. I really love the way that they take inspiration from natural landscapes. That's something that they do really, really excellently on their Instagram as well. And I try to document a lot of my knitting projects outside of the home and in the world for that same reason, because I just think knitwear, there's a quote in, oh my gosh, it's actually right here. This book talks a lot about how natural materials call for natural settings and how you can't really enjoy, the example here is about candlelight and dark wood and ceramics, and how in a restaurant in that setting, the candlelight really brings out those natural textures. And I feel the exact same way about knitwear. I feel like there's definitely times where I've had to take pictures of my knitwear just in my apartment, kind of briefly. But there is really nothing like going out into a farm setting and, or just any sort of natural setting really, and taking pictures of your knitwear there. Anywhere where you feel like sheep could be, that's where you should photograph your wool, I guess, as kind of a common rule. I just think that my pictures always turn out a lot more romantic and fitting for the project that I've worked on. Another person who's really big on that is Albina. I can never say her name, but she has an awesome interview with Woolly Mammoth Fiber Company, where she talks about how when she is designing, she's considering how the piece will look in the broader world. And she first starts with the image of what she wants to feel when she's wearing a knitted project, and then she kind of designs backwards from that feeling. And that's exactly how this book feels to me. So just really great purchase, very inspirational, very much worth the money. And then this last thing is a pretty silly thing to share. But I have just been really into cooking as of late. I always get a resurgence of cooking interest in the colder months. But for my birthday, I treated myself to this Le Creuset pan. I wish that the colors would show up a little bit better on camera, but it is just the most beautiful blue color. And I mean, you can't get any more classic than the Le Creuset font. But anyway, I just wanted to share that here because I feel like the knitting world has a nice crossover between cooks and knitwear people. So yeah, just thought I'd throw that in there. All right, and that is it for this video. It's a very long video that I'll hopefully have to edit down to be a little bit shorter. But yeah, thanks so much for joining me today. Hopefully soon I'll have some good cozy knitting content to share as I continue to work on these projects, and hopefully make time for some cooler weather hikes and things like that I can bring you all along on. So anyway, thanks so much for watching, and hope to see you next time. Bye, take care.